Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning where I'm at. It could be evening. Who knows what time of day it is when you're going to be watching this. This is not a live. I am pre-recording this. And it's not because I do a lot of video editing, albeit on this one I am going to try. I self-professingly am not really great at technology. So traditionally I just hit record on I use photo booth on my MacBook and then just upload that video directly to YouTube, not doing any editing, even though it is pre-recorded. But today I am gonna try to be a bit more I don't want to say interactive, but one way in which, you know, most humans, the most preferred way of absorbing information is through our eyes. You know, that's why they're in the front of our face versus prey is on the side of their face. We're predators, and so this is the primary way in which we take in information. Obviously we have more senses than just one, but today's episode though is going to be about synchronicities. And I've been thinking about this for a while, not quite sure, honestly, how I wanted to share this information with you. Of course, it's going to be stories, but part of the reason that I'm sharing the stories is to validate potentially your own experience if you're having a lot of synchronicities happening, or it could also be to raise some awareness around what a synchronicity is and what that's potentially communicating to you. Stay tuned. Alrighty, thank you again for joining me for today's video on synchronicities. I'm going to start out today with the definition of a synchronicity. So, synchronicity, it's a noun. The simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. I'm going to read that one more time. The simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. So, if this is the first video that you're watching, then you wouldn't know much about me. And if you know me, whether you are a client or friend of mine or have watched other videos, this is not going to be a new story. In 2020, I experienced a spiritual awakening, and there are a lot of people waking up right now. There's a lot of individuals, souls, entities, beings that are lending to the raise of vibration of Earth. So there's a lot of us that are becoming enlightened in one facet or another, and I'm trying to figure out where to start with this. Spirit, where do we want to start? All right. In March of 2020, something happened at a job that I was working at. It was the first and only big kid job that I'd ever had out of college, and it was a cult. I was there for almost a decade, and I also want to share that just because it's a cult doesn't mean it's like some sort of secret society. This was a very well-known organization. It's a privately held company, but it's what I've come to identify a cult as is by two measurements. And of course there's other essences that go into a cult, but for me it was no ability to question leadership, and they used my own values against me. And so one day what happened was a meeting that I didn't even want to be a part of, but I was lumped into this meeting group. I came to my computer to join this meeting, and the meeting had been canceled. And you might be saying like, yay, yippee, you didn't want to join this meeting anyway, so it'd be a blessing that it was canceled. I was one of the more senior members of this meeting, and the reason that the meeting was canceled had associated us to a number. We worked in recruiting. Specifically, I worked in account management, outside sales, and there was a number associated to us to the number of cold calls that we had made that week. And the energy behind it was we were being punished. We're not going to have this end of the day wrap up meeting where you like celebrate your wins or you share struggles that you were going through, because we didn't earn it. We hadn't, and so our value wasn't a human being, albeit the what was being said at every meeting was be exceedingly human, hashtag be exceedingly human. And I started to realize these fucking people aren't humane at all. They're fucking controlling, power abusing, manipulative, dark people. And why I struggled to figure out where I wanted to start the story is prior to this event happening, where this meeting was canceled, I had started reading a book called The 4 Agreements. Oh, it's right next to my bed. By Don Miguel Ruiz. I've read this book many, many times, and whenever I am starting to find my ego or my thoughts too active, this is a really grounding book. This will bring you back to clarity around what he calls the domestication of humans, the ways in which we abandon ourselves. For example, a couple of the first agreement is being impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of word in the direction of truth and love. And what also he talks about with being impeccable with your word is, one of the first words that we do learn is no. And why is it that we learn that is because someone, mom, dad, whomever is raising you, or potentially like a teacher or society, is taking away your freedom. They're seeking for you to conform. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be victim to needless suffering. Third, don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And the last one is always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. So I started reading this book. This is an image of him there. Sweet man. He's written many books, by the way, and I'm pretty sure his son is doing something now too. Anyways, so I was reading that book, and then I had also taken the Enneagram, and I had found out that I was a type 3, which is called the achiever, where at the core of my personality, which is a creation of the ego, is my self-esteem comes from perception of the outer world. So I started to see the reason in which I needed to be the golden girl all the time. I needed to be the best, and I needed to be I was very vain, and I started to see how none of that shit really fucking mattered. So I worked for an organization that really prided itself on keeping you small. They hired you because you were special, but then every day told you why you weren't. And so part of my personality is, well, I'm going to win them over. I'm going to just keep working harder. I'm going to augment. I'm going to augment. I'm going to augment. And So I had this awareness, this all of a sudden, this clarity around why I did certain things, why I had this compulsion to brag. Threes are braggers when they're not healthy. Like, let's say you come to work one day and you're like, yeah, I went on this hike. They'll go, oh, I've done it 3 times. I did it the quickest. Or they just can't. A compulsion of their personality is to brag. And if I don't stop and pause, take a breath, and find a better way to respond with, that's a really great story, or even a follow-up question for the other person. Would you do it again? What was your favorite part? Did you do anything afterwards? Because then what happens is everything is about you. You make everything about you. And that's really exhausting for anybody to be around. So I was reading the 4 agreements. I had taken the Enneagram. And so this leads up to the day that this gentleman, I say boss, but he wasn't my boss. He did have a higher job title up within the organization, but anyways, he canceled the meeting. And I will never forget, I literally sat back in the chair that I was sitting in. I cracked my knuckles and I started typing an email. And I said, how did it go? Something to the effect of, because there were 9 people total on this email. This gentleman, myself, would have been, I guess, the senior leaders, senior members. And the other would have been people that we managed. And I responded and said, hey, I have availability for this meeting. I'll be at this meeting. If you want to share something cool that happened to you today, or you want to, get some help on something. If you want to keep working though, and you don't want to join the meeting, not a problem either. I just want to let you know that I'm available as a resource. And I had replied all. And the next email that came through, which was also a reply all, was Tiffany. How did it go? We decided to cancel this meeting. And I replied all again and said, who is we? When you use language like we, it makes me feel isolated, like I did something wrong, like people are talking about me or potentially others behind our backs. And what about, I get that you don't see the benefit or the value of this meeting, but what about everybody else? You have no idea. These are people it's COVID, right? We're working from home right now. And this may be the only time in the day where they get to just express themselves freely. You don't know what somebody else is experiencing. You have zero clue. Again, remember, don't make assumptions. And the next message that I got, which was a reply all, was, Tiffany, get back to work. That wasn't going to work for me. That old me would have been like, oh, I can feel the pain in my heart. I would have thought to myself, I'm doing something wrong. You don't ruffle feathers. Again, think about like a cult, and as somebody in power, you don't challenge them. You become a robot. Well, the chains were breaking. The chains that I had put myself in, I was no longer going to do. And so I thought to myself, oh, and so this is what happened. The next thing that came through was an email from him and my actual boss, my director. Tiffany, you were uninvited to tomorrow morning's meetup. We will be in touch sometime tomorrow to figure out what happened here today. Isolation. That's another quality of cults. When you have a rogue one, when you have someone who is, I guess, going against the norm, we've got to isolate and control this situation. Well, I replied to my manager or my director and this guy. I added the VP of HR. I added about 6 or 7 other individuals in the office that had my same job title. And I said, I am not interested in a meeting with the 2 of you. I have had many meetings with the 2 of you, and they never end positively. They end in some sort of restriction of me. There is some sort of taking away of my job or threat of taking away my job. And so I will meet with you and anybody else on this email thread in order to assure it will be productive. That was in the evening. That was Tuesday evening. I'll never forget it. I think it was like the 26th, maybe 28th of April 2020. It was the last Tuesday of the month. Wednesday morning, I get a call from this VP of HR saying that I was suspended from work with pay. She kept it reiterating, with pay. And now looking back, I didn't care. I made really great money there. That was part of the deal, right? I made great money. I worked my fucking ass off, easily working 60 hours a week, if not more. And I'd been there for almost a decade. I mean, my first 3 or 4 years, I made less than $50,000. And now I was making, this year was going to be my highest grossing year. It was about $250,000. Trust me, the company was making millions off of me. I was bringing in millions of dollars of work, of business. That day, that Wednesday, I mean, the company had every bit of control over me, and I had given it. That's the thing. And if you think that I was just this innocent party and wasn't like managing people poorly, you're wrong. I was treating people the same way that well, not the same way, but they were just really mean. But I was controlling. Whatever, culture of the company, I was also a huge player in it. Trust me. And so that Wednesday morning, I get the call, and I just remember when you don't have every minute of your day planned and being monitored. I went into this place called liminal space, and it was probably one of the most beautiful times in my life. And liminal space, I just Googled this because I know the essence of it, because I experienced it, but I didn't know what the definition is. Liminal space is the uncertain transition between where you've been and where you're physically, emotionally, or metaphorically. To be in liminal space means that to be on the precipice of something new, but not quite there yet. The word liminal comes from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. Whew, I can feel some emotion. And boy, did things change. That Thursday, so Wednesday, suspended. Thursday, I get asked to join a meeting with my manager. And mind you, my manager is texting me, and I'm reaching out to HR saying, why is this manager reaching out to me? I specifically told her that I was not interested in any communication from her. And like that, that VP of HR, which she's just a pawn within the company. Like the moment I talked to her, I could easily tell that she had an MO too, you don't work, she had been there 21 years or something. You don't work at a company that you don't share values with, right? And so what I learned, Charmaine is her name, as I learned how to use her to get what I needed without oversharing with her. I knew that I wasn't able to be truly vulnerable with her. I was authentic, but not vulnerable. So I met with my director and the VP on Thursday. The meeting was about 15 minutes long. I resigned. I remember I wrote a letter. I was up all night that night, no sleep whatsoever, just the amount of anxiety and worry when you have given all of your power. If you've ever been in a potentially domestic violence situation, or you've been in a relationship where the power was uneven, you think that they can do anything to you. You truly, that is the way in which they have portrayed themselves, that they control everything, and you believe them. That's the reality. And so I wrote a letter of resignation, because a phone call I knew wasn't going to be enough. So I remember I got that sent. But so the meeting was 15 minutes long, And my director opened up the meeting by saying that she knew that I'd been asking for another job for a while now, which I had. She offered me another job. And she goes, I stayed up all night last night, or I thought really hard last night about, because she knew she'd fucked up. She knew that she had treated me poorly. And looking back on text messages that she had sent, I mean, she was just so ruthless, like a mean girl to me. No compassion, no empathy, just so mean. And I know her soul knew that. I know that. And so she goes, I have another job for you. And I didn't even ask what the job was. I had zero fucking care about what the job was. I was done. I was at peace. I didn't need to hear I'm sorry. I didn't need to hear anything from her. And I just remember reiterating that Samantha, who she is, that's her name, Samantha, who she is in private is not who she is in public. And that the company needs to have checks and balances in place. Because ultimately, why I was suspended, and this was, I had the VP of HR repeat this multiple times, was that Matthew, this guy, the guy that I had to join the meeting with, that whatever he says goes. And I said, whatever he says goes? Yes, it is his practice. And I said, at what cost? Where are the checks and balances? And I said, if I stayed at the company, it would only be selfish because my heart is no longer in it. And I'd be fine for a little bit, but you give me a little bit of time and I'm going to be right back at the same spot. This is not the place for me right now. And the first phone call that I made after that was to my mother. And at this point in time, my mother's relationship and it was already really rocky. Not from her perspective, but from mine. Again, I told you about the company I worked at. My mother was the company. Same energy. My mother is a narcissist. I was blind to her narcissistic ways until literally this very moment. And I'm going to tell you the moment. But you will continue to attract the same people and same experiences until you are healed. And healing promotes awareness. Healing promotes boundaries. Healing promotes balance, harmony, peace. And so if you have someone coming to you that is in balance, that is not harmonious, that isn't peaceful, but you don't have capacity. You don't vibrate at the same frequency. It won't work. And so, I'm just looking for a ponytail. I want to put my hair up. So I called my mother. Again, I'm already starting to awaken. I don't know the words for what I'm experiencing, but I'm already starting to awaken. And, and my mom, I'm already starting to see, like, I don't feel good when I talk to her. When I talk to her, I feel painful inside. So, call my mom, and my stepfather's there too. That's pretty common. They answer the phone on speakerphone. And I remember telling my mom, I go, Mom, I feel so free right now. I feel so powerful. Like I could do anything. Again, I had been at this cult. I didn't have the words for cult at that point in time, but I'd been at this company for almost a decade, 9 years and some change. And I go, I feel so free right now. I go, I could do anything. I'm going to be, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be the first female president of the United States of America. I go, I'm going to move to India and write a book. Which, by the way, I'm reading this book right now called Sacred Contracts. And it's amazing what information comes through. Like, I will go to India and write a book in my lifetime. I do know that to be true. But in that moment, I didn't. It just vomited out of my mouth. And she goes, Tiffany. Like, you're flying a little high right now. Don't crush people's dreams. If you're listening to this, of my story, this could be the synchronicity that you need to hear. And you keep telling your kid, or you keep telling a friend, you can't do that, don't do that, you shouldn't do that. Fuck you. Don't tell people what they can and cannot do. You are not living their life, even if you perceive that it is better for them. Speak your truth, obviously, but keep your opinions to yourself. Opinions are the lowest form of knowledge. I'm going to say that one more time. Opinions are the lowest form of knowledge because they require no information and no accountability. You just get to blurt what you want and what you believe, but it's not rooted in anything. So fuck you if you're doing that. And right now, start making differences. All the time I experience things, wouldn't make that choice, but I don't say I wouldn't make that choice. That's their life. And what you don't know is that if you were that person, you would make every single same decision that they made. So what you perceive as stupid, as, reckless, as, unresponsible, you would make every single same decision that they made if you had lived their life. I know that to be true because I am you and you are me. We are one. We are having a singular experience, but we are the same. So be careful when you cut people at their ankles, when you cut them at their knees. It's not your job to do. You are overstepping a boundary. And if you're a parent, you're squashing, you're literally dimming their light. Why can't they be an astronaut? Why can't somebody move to India and write a book? Well, I don't know how you would do that. If you're not doing it, God always provides. Life doesn't make logical sense. And if you try to live life logically, you are living in karma. You will be disappointed. You will be met with sadness and drama. What I do on a day-to-day basis, if I told most people, and you do get to experience some of it, it don't make logical sense. We are a blend of masculine and feminine energy. The feminine energy works through the heart and is the intuitiveness. For example, I'll use recording this. Yesterday, something happened, and that's what prompted me to make the video. I saw an image of socks. And it's going to come up here why this image of socks was so important. But I thought I got an intuitive hit. I should make a video about this. That's the feminine energy. The masculine energy is the execution. It's me opening up my laptop. It's me hitting record. It's me uploading this video. It's me writing a description and me posting it. That is the balance of masculine and feminine energy. Because here's the thing, if I get the intuitive hit and I do nothing with it, then I'm kind of stir crazy. Then I'm kind of going, oh, I should do that, or oh, I should do that, or then I'm into my brain. Go do it. That's the balance. So okay, my mom, I got a little, had to be that way in a moment. That was the energy that needed to move through me. She goes, Tiffany, you're flying a little high right now. And I said to her, and I never said shit like this to her ever. I said, don't do that. Don't do that. I said, I need more context. She goes, well, you have to get rid of your dog. I said, Mom, it's COVID. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere. And by the way, you can travel internationally with your dog. And, this is the first dream that I've had in over a decade. And the first thing you say is that I'm flying too high. And it was all of a sudden, it was like, if you were to have like a record on a why can't I think of what that's called? A record player, but there's a something phone. Anyways, and you like stop it. Almost like a whoom. I can hear the sound. It's like my world stopped in that moment, and I could see this long line of every decision I made that it was ultimately for my mother. I would get this little bit of freedom and she would pull me back. I'd get a little bit of freedom and she'd squash me. She'd give me money. She'd, tell me I couldn't do something. And it was at that point in time that I decided I needed some space for my mother. She ultimately did not respect boundaries to the point that I had to get police involved. And she has left me alone, thank God, for 3 years. And I still have no desire to have a relationship with her. Zero, none. There's no light or love that I feel whatsoever that comes from that relationship. So that evening, no joke, that very evening, already I'm thinking about work. This is going to be clearly a longer video. Normally they're about like 20-30 minutes, and this is where I can tell I'm just talking. So that evening, already from Tuesday to Thursday, I'm already thinking, what can I do for a job? What can I do for a job? Because I'd worked since I was 13. And as a 3 on the Enneagram, workability, that's really, like, we do grease the wheels of society. We do. If you want to get something done, get a 3 involved. We are excellent worker bees. I mean, literally, depending on the dynamism in the room, we can work 24-hour days and not be tired. Not saying it's healthy, but that we're excellent community organizers. We just have an innate way of seeing, of acknowledging the power in the room. You would be excellent at that, and you would be great at that. And hey, would you be interested in this? And 60% of American presidents have been 3s. We have an innate way of mirroring the consciousness in the room. We're chameleons in a lot of senses. And these, mind you, they are gifts, but they can also be a sin. And so I was already thinking about work, and I remember my house at this point in time. I owned a home, which I ended up selling in 2021, and bought this RV, which I call Feeny. It's a Phoenix, and I'm a Phoenix. And but my house at that time was full of plants, and I was thinking to myself, all of a sudden this information started to come to me. Again, we have chakras and we are energetic beings. So this energy was coming to me that if I do what I love, everything will be provided for me. If I honor my heart, which doesn't make logical sense, if I honor my heart, I will not worry about abundance. I will not worry about love. I will not, every experience that I am seeking will be seeking me as well. Like Rumi said, what you are seeking is also seeking you. So if you're finding something bad, the bad will come to you. If you're seeking love, love will come to you. If you're seeking adventure, adventure will come to you. Enlightenment, you get it. And it was at that very moment that I was staring at this pussy willow tree that I had. I love plants. If I do what I love, abundance will come. And it was in that very moment that the tree turned to gold. This tree turned to gold. I remember kind of backing up, getting close to it. And it was in that moment I knew the soul of God. I knew that that was God. I knew in that moment God was real. I knew in that moment it was the essence, it was the signature. And somebody may say, how did you know it was God? It's like, okay, this is the best example I can always find for this. We all dream. Whether we recall our dreams or not, we all dream. And how many of you have dreams where you know somebody was there in the room with you, but you never saw them? My mom was there. my, babysitter from when I was 3 was there. How do you know that they were there but you didn't see them? Because the energy of the soul was there. And so that's when I was like, so again, I'm reading the 4 agreements. I've taken the Enneagram. I just resigned from my job. I'm in this very liminal space. And then a tree turns to gold, and I'm like, okay, so God is real. And then I'm like, well, holy shit. We're not, like, life isn't just a bitch and then you die. You don't just work till you're 65 and then you die. Like, why are we here then? What's the purpose of this thing then? So later that evening, and I promise you I'm going to get into the synchronicities. We're getting there right now. And I had also been seeing a counselor at this time and seeing her weekly because there was so much pain in my heart, and I always had hope. I knew that there was something more. And I think about a week prior in the meeting with her, I was telling her that I had 3 horses. I had this horse here. This is like it's plastic. It's just felt kind of dumpy is what I used to think. That's how I referred to it initially. Now it's the most glorious horse ever, which I'll tell you why. But I had a crystal horse. It wasn't crystal, like that wasn't the material, but it was a clear, like, glass horse. And then I also had this bronze horse. It wasn't bronze, that wasn't the material, but it was this metallic goldy with like a green velvet base. So I had these 3 horses. And I remember telling my counselor, I was telling her, I don't know why, but out of these 3 horses, this one's me. This one is me. And I bet you I was fucking making this lady feel very uncomfortable in the sense that every week I was coming, like, telling her, this progressed over the summer, but, like, maybe I didn't tell her this, but I mean, I started hearing fairies. That was like a section of time. Gnomes as well, when I would go walking in the forest. Anyways, so, again, I can't, who I am to you is exactly who I am to you. But, I told her that I was this horse. She's like, what about it? And I was like, I don't know, but this is me. And so that evening, this is also the day, I believe that counseling session might have been a few days prior, but the day that the tree turned to gold, something else magical happened that night. It's about 10 o'clock at night. I remember it was Thursday, and for the first time in my life, I didn't stress about going to bed. I didn't care what time I went to bed, because for the first time in my life, and I still don't, I didn't set an alarm. And that year, I got my circadian rhythm back. I would go to bed at like 9 o'clock. I was waking up at like 3 and 4 in the morning and just starting my day. I still have excellent sleeping abilities. I go to bed when I'm tired, and I wake up when I need to, when I want to. I think that's also a really great disservice that people do. They just automatically set an alarm. Don't set an alarm if you don't need to. Why are you breaking your body out of a rhythm that it's in? Especially on the weekends. Like, I used to set an alarm with like, I'm going to go for a run. I was never a fucking runner. Why are you thinking you're going to start tomorrow? Or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go do that. Well, I would wake up and then I would fucking snooze through my alarm even on the weekends for over like an hour or whatever. Don't leave your alarm alone unless you require one. If you do not require one, why are you setting one? We are domesticated in a lot of ways that we don't need to be. You could take back that, habit today. So anyways, it's about 10 o'clock at night, and old me, again, when I worked at the Colt, would have been like, you got to get to bed. And I'd probably be up until 1 or 2 in the morning anyway, just stressing about work. And all of a sudden, my dog, and I was sleeping in the spare bedroom for some reason, she went over to this tub. It was a gray tub. And when I bought my house, I don't know if you've experienced this, but your parents go, hey, this is all your shit. Like, take it. get it out of my garage. And mind you, I had gone through this tub many times before. Many times. But my dog went and she just stood at the tub. And I have a little Frenchie. She's not super tall, so she's kind of like looking up at the tub. Like here would be the lid. And I was like, holy shit. I think something's in there. And I don't know if you have a French Bulldog, but my dog, I know that animals also carry Enneagram number traits, and my dog is an 8. She is it, like, so they're kind of nosy motherfuckers, and they're kind of like in your shit. So, like, if I was opening up something, she's gonna be there. What's happening? What's going on? Is that mine? Can I have it? Can I touch it? Let me have it. And 8s are called the Challenger, by the way, and they they're the most masculine energetically, and they can be assholes a lot of times. They're just very big people. They like a lot of noise, and they're just, anyways, kind of crass as well. Hey, they love to cuss. They love a cuss word. And celebrity-wise, Chelsea Handler is an 8. And I think Martin Luther King Jr. was an 8 as well. Anyways, I go to the tub, and my dog goes to the complete opposite side of the bed. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, she's giving me space right now. And so I'm on one side of the bed with this tub. My dog's on the other. And I open the tub. And when I tell you the amount of energy that rushed through my spine, in the sense of spirit, I knew God was there as well. Because right on top of this tub was an envelope made of butcher paper that was stapled on the sides, that had my name written at the top, Tiffany C. With the drawing that I had done when I was 5. Here's the drawing. It was of the horse. It was of the horse. And even the halter was like this. Instead of like this, even the halter was like that. And I remember I looked at my dog. And this relates back to the synchronicities. This has come full circle. And I thought I was going to try to like add imagery like through editing. I'm just going to show you on my phone. And what I heard in my head, clear as day as a voice, was my dog. She said, "I know." And then she said, "I love you." She telepathically told me that. So yesterday I was at Hallmark getting something, and there were these Luke Skywalker and Layla socks. And the thing about synchronicities is that unless you are aware of them, you'll pass over them every time. Remember, synchronicity is the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. And I freaking love Star Wars, specifically The Mandalorian. That one's my favorite. I really resonate with Baby Yoda, with Grogu, for some reason. Well, not for some reason. It's just, I identify with the infinite force that is within us all, the universe that resides in all of us. That we are capable of anything that we put our mind to. Anything that we put our mind to. I do want to apologize for earlier for saying fuck you, if that, I can't ever control how you respond to what I say. And that energy was probably more for my mother. I'm still healing from that relationship. I was going to say obviously, but that's not obvious. But it is not your responsibility or your place to be telling people what they should and should not do, what they can and cannot do. You are dimming people's light by doing that. And we are all an unrepeatable miracle of the universe that has a role, and every moment has a purpose. And so when you inside of yourself feel the desire to go do something, but then tell yourself you can't or you shouldn't, that message came from somewhere. And it's dimming the light that is required in that moment. And so, I wanted to say thank you for sharing your time with me today. And that's just part of my story. There were so many magical things that happened that year. And that's not even all the things that happened in those few days. I have so many other things that were really magical that happened in those days. One in particular is I had a conversation with the fly. It was really beautiful, like a full-on conversation with a fly. And was able to communicate with it and ask it to do things, and all through telepathy. And so there was so many magical things that happened. And so I know that I will be writing a book. I've asked for that energy to be called in, and so when that's supposed to happen, it will happen. And I just want you to know that you're capable of great things, and you have a dream and a fire that burns inside of your soul that is unique to you, and we need you to honor it. We need you to let your freak flag fly. I'm counting on you. The universe is counting on you. Life is to be experienced through trial and error, to be fearless about it. And apologize if you want to, or have impacted somebody in a way that you don't want to, but we apologize for too much stuff, and we're too sensitive in a lot of ways, regarding other people. So go do that thing. Just take the step and allow yourself to do it. Who cares what anybody else will say or think or do? Honor the fire in your heart. Okay? You are loved, and love simply because it is true. I'll see you next time.